Hey guys, what's up? Manny the Monkey here. Welcome back to the channel. It's time to continue the series about climbing related injury. In this episode we're going to take a look at methods that we can use to treat already acquired finger injuries for optimal healing. Okay, let's do this. So first of all, I want to say that just as with the numerous strategies which exist in order to prevent climbing related finger injuries in the first place, which we discussed last time, there are numerous of different ways on how to treat already acquired finger injuries. There are ice baths, massaging, corrective exercises, just to name a few, and probably not loads of other stuff I don't even know about and which are all quite on the sophisticated end of the spectrum, I would say, and which would probably deserve their own video. Got experience with those? Let me know in the comments down below. What we should keep in mind is that there are different kinds of climbing related finger injuries, which of course are treated differently. For the purpose of this video, I want to distinguish between three major categories. Namely, number one, everything surface or skin related, like for example flappers or splits. Number two, long-term overload issues of inner structures like pulleys, tendons, cartilage, capsules. You know, everything that starts to hurt slowly and develops into an injury slowly. And then we have the category number three, representing all the short-term overload issues, like for example a partly teared pulley or a teared capsule or anything like that. And these categories are also ordered after severity in this case, by the way. Now I want to tackle three very basic, common sense based, but despite that inherently different measures a lot of climbers take in order to ensure recovery of whatever finger structure might be injured. And I'm pretty sure you basically have to pick one of those options once you're injured in order to not fully ruin your body. Let's start with very popular option number one, which is taping. The theory behind taping is that a correctly attached tape supports and thus relieves the injured structure, allowing the climber to climb pain-free and the structure to heal. And when I say structure, I mostly mean pulleys and capsules, which are the most common reasons behind a taped finger. If you're climbing for a longer time already, then you might know that there are countless different ways of how to tape a finger exactly, depending on the injured structure and its location. I will now try to show and explain 4 different ways of taping, their advantages and disadvantages and areas of use, just to give you some practical examples. And for this purpose I will jump into voiceover mode real quickly here. I will start with the classic ring pattern. Everybody knows this. This is a really simple way of taping a finger. You basically just have to wrap a longer piece of tape around your finger. Here I demonstrated onto the A2 pulley. You can also use it to support the A3 pulley. Just pay attention that you don't attach it too firmly to not restrict blood flow. If you know more specifically what's your problem, then you should probably go for a more sophisticated way of taping, like this one here, for example, the H tape or the H method or H pattern, however you want to call it. You will need a wider strip of tape here to create those legs here, and then you want to attach the middle piece onto your joint, on the bottom of your joint, and wrap the legs around of your A2 and A3 pulley, just like you did in the ring method. This is pretty cool because now you've got support on your A2 and on your A3, and because of the middle part you also got support a little bit at least onto your joint, onto your capsule. And now I want to show you the X or 8 pattern or method, and this is basically almost the same as the H method, but here you create those 2 rings onto your pulleys out of one long strip of tape, wrapping it around multiple times around your finger, as you can see here. And I had the impression that this is a little bit more tight, a little bit more firm than the H method. It restricts blood flow a little bit more. Maybe I did it a little bit wrong as well, and it restricts range of motion more than the H tape, which might be more important in this case. So if you want a little bit more support than the H tape, I would go for the X or 8 pattern. And you can do the same pattern also in a lateral way, like in this example here. This is when you want to support the lateral ligaments of your joints, for example, like I show it here. This is called the lateral X or the lateral 8 pattern. And you can of course add a second layer to this whole system here to create the same thing on the other side of the joint, basically to create this really stable sheath of tape which holds your finger tight. And that's basically it for taping. Keep in mind that the tape must be attached correctly in order to have its full effect. It must be tight, but not too tight. And you should also take into consideration that additional tape might influence your climbing via reduced friction and an increase of finger thickness, which could be important when it comes to holes and pockets. Now I'm going to move on to the strategy which I use to cure all of my inner finger injuries which I've had so far during my climbing career, which is simply keep climbing but do nothing that hurts. I'm pretty lucky that I haven't had any inner finger injuries of a sudden character so far, like for example a ripped apart pulley or a ripped capsule or anything like that. All of my finger issues were a long-term overloading kind of character, a tweaking pulley here and there or a hurting tendon or stuff like that. And why I believe this approach is so ideal to heal those? I simply rely on biology here. If I do something wrong, my body will tell me by sending me pain. Thus, I just have to avoid the pain, and theoretically, I should be on the safe side. Another thing is that I believe that all of our cells, especially those of the locomotive apparatus, need some kind of mechanical stress to orient themselves inside the body, to know in which direction collagen fibers must be built up, and so on and so forth. This is very well documented for calcification inside the bones, for example. And that's another reason why I believe in this approach, because it keeps the original forces in the climber's body intact, just at a lower magnitude. This way the cells don't lose orientation and they can keep building an even stronger structure out of the injured one. That's why I'm not such a big fan of taping and total resting when it comes to long-term overload issues. The tape brings in strange new forces and alters perception of pain, both of which are not ideal for the healing process in my opinion. And the total rest removes the reason for the structure to get stronger completely, and I think that's not the right path either. I know all that sounds super pseudoscientific, and I can tell you right away that I have zero studies backing up my claims. And what I can tell you also is that I've healed all my long-term inner finger injury stuff with this approach. Can I tell if it's the best one? Not really, because I have never tried the others really. Maybe I could have healed my stuff faster by doing something else. But I guess in that regard I'm more of the never change a winning system type of guy. Something I should add here is that I've talked to a lot of climbers about this approach, and some report that they simply can't rip themselves together when it comes to climbing softer moves in order to stay in the pain-free zone. If you're one of these guys, then it would probably be better to make a total rest, and once you get back into climbing, use tape in order to avoid ripping apart your structure completely. But in general, I can say just stay in the pain-free zone. Your body knows exactly what it's doing and it's sending you just the right signals you need to know. Alright, so let's finally move on to the third option, which is complete total rest. If you're having a severe inner finger injury of a sudden character, like for example a broken bone or a ripped apart pulley or a ripped apart capsule, then you probably have to go for this one and eventually even surgery and stuff like that. Otherwise you won't give the destroyed structure a chance to heal, the parts will never rejoin again. But other than that, I wouldn't do a complete total rest. There are arguments to throw in longer rest periods on a seasonal basis to enhance fitness and stuff like that, but that's a topic for another video. So to conclude, when it comes to surface, skin related issues like flabbers, splits and stuff like that, you can treat them with tape, why not? Just pay attention that you don't put the tape around too tightly, too firmly, because you don't want to have any additional forces on your inner structures. You can also try to climb as pain-free as possible, of course, why not? And you can even do a shorter, complete total rest when you decide it makes no sense to try your project with open skin. When it comes to long-term overload issues of inner structures, I would say, in my opinion, the ideal approach is to just climb as pain-free as possible. No taping, no complete rest, because you want to keep the original forces in the climber's body intact to help the structure to orient itself and get even stronger. But I know, of course, there are lots of climbers who do a different approach. Some make a total, complete rest and come back after 2-3 weeks or so when the pain has gone, although a lot of them have kind of a relapse experience then. And of course, a lot of climbers go down the road of taping, which is not what I would prefer either. And then there are those severe inner finger injuries of a sudden character, for example a ripped apart pulley or ripped apart capsule or whatnot, and these of course have to be treated with complete total rest for at least 2-3 weeks or something like that, depending on the severity of the injury, and sometimes even surgery. There, I would not recommend any taping, and I would not recommend any climbing without with pain avoidance, in case that is even possible. So here you have my point of view on the 3 major strategies for healing the 3 major categories of climbing related finger injuries, based on nothing more than personal experience. Got a different story? Please share it in the comments down below so that all of us can learn from it, and please don't forget to like, share, subscribe if you've got something from this video. I'd really appreciate it. And other than that, I want to thank you for watching this episode to the very end, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.